January 19th, 2008. Madison Square Garden, the Mecca of boxing. The lights burned brighter than ever. The crowd was split between chants of Tito, Tito, and the booming cheers for Roy, Roy. This wasn't just a fight, it was a collision of legends. Two men who had defined eras now stepping into the ring in search of one last night of glory. Roy Jones Jr., the American phenom, once called the pound-for-pound king of the world, was a man who had defied physics. His speed, reflexes, and creativity inside the ring had left opponents bewildered for over a decade. But by 2008, Jones was no longer the untouchable dynamo. He was older, battle-worn, and looking to prove that the fire still burned within him. Across the ring stood Félix Tito Trinidad of Puerto Rico, a national hero, a relentless warrior, a puncher with devastating power. Tito had not fought in nearly 3 years, but his name still carried magic. He was the destroyer of legends, the man who broke champions with thunderous left hooks. At 35, questions loomed about his timing, his conditioning, his rhythm. Yet for Puerto Rican fans, none of that mattered. Tito's fists had always been the great equalizer. When Michael Buffer's voice echoed through the arena, "Let's get ready to rumble," goosebumps rose. The stage was set for a battle not just of fists, but of legacies. Roy Jones Jr., the showman, Félix Trinidad, the relentless puncher. Two icons, each fighting not only the man in front of them, but the ticking clock of time. From the opening bell, it was clear this fight was going to be a chess match wrapped in a storm. Trinidad came forward, stalking, his left hook cocked and ready. Roy circled, his hands low, flashing speed and reflexes that even at 39 still dazzled. The crowd roared every time Tito lunged, every time Roy smirked and countered. Jones snapped the jab, mixing in sharp right hands down the middle. He wanted to test Trinidad's timing, make him hesitant. Tito, meanwhile, dug to the body, reminding Jones that his power was still very real. Early exchanges had the garden on fire. Trinidad found moments, a thudding body shot, a grazing left hook upstairs. But Roy's speed advantage was undeniable. He slipped, he slid, he countered with quick left hooks and right crosses that snapped Tito's head back. By the third round, a pattern began to emerge. Jones was dictating the pace, using angles, making Trinidad miss and pay, yet Trinidad, proud and defiant, kept pressing forward. Every time Roy showboated, Tito tried to answer with fire. But the cleaner punches belonged to Jones. He wasn't just surviving, he was painting his masterpiece, reminding the world that his genius had not completely faded. The crowd sensed the storyline. Could Tito land that one big left hook to change the night? Or would Roy simply be too sharp, too clever, too fast? The tension in the air was electric. The early rounds belonged to Jones, but Trinidad's determination kept the fight alive. By the middle rounds, the fight became Roy Jones Jr.'s showcase. His right hand was the weapon of choice, sharp, straight, and accurate. Trinidad walked into them again and again, his aggression neutralized by Roy's reflexes. At times, Jones even smiled after landing clean shots, taunting Tito, inviting him in, only to punish him with lightning counters. In round 5, a crisp right hand stunned Trinidad. The Puerto Rican warrior shook it off, but the warning was clear. Roy's timing was still deadly. The crowd gasped with every clean shot. Tito's punches, once so destructive, seemed a step too slow, a beat too late. His ring rust showed, but his courage never wavered. Then came round 7, the defining moment. Jones unleashed a perfectly timed right hand that sent Trinidad to the canvas. The garden erupted. Tito rose, defiant, but the momentum had shifted permanently. Jones now stalked with confidence, landing hooks and combinations with a rhythm that looked like echoes of his prime. Tito kept throwing, kept pressing, but Jones was in control. The knockdown was more than a point on the scorecard. It was a symbolic shift. Roy Jones Jr., the fighter many had written off, was reminding the world who he was, and Trinidad, though brave, was drowning in the tide of Jones's speed and precision. As the fight entered the late rounds, the question wasn't about who was winning. It was about whether Trinidad could turn back the clock with one punch. But Jones had found his groove. He moved with swagger, his hands dropping to his sides, his punches crisp and accurate. In round 10, Roy landed another booming right hand that floored Tito once more. The Puerto Rican legend rose, his pride refusing to let him stay down. The crowd gave him thunderous respect. He was hurt, but he kept coming. That was Tito, always fighting, always believing in his fists. But Jones was too smart, too sharp, too focused. He controlled the distance, picked his shots, and punished every mistake. His right hand was laser-guided, his defense tight enough to avoid Trinidad's desperate power shots. Round after round, Jones piled up points, and with every bell, his confidence grew. The championship rounds told a story of survival for Trinidad and redemption for Jones. Roy wasn't just winning, he was dominating, and the crowd knew they were watching history. One legend proving he still had enough magic to shine, another showing a warrior's heart even in defeat. When the final bell rang, the fighters embraced. There was respect, admiration, and exhaustion. The scorecards were a formality. The ring announcer delivered the verdict. By unanimous decision, Roy Jones Jr. The garden erupted. Roy raised his hands, smiling, soaking in the roar. For one night, the old brilliance had returned. He had rolled back the years, outclassing a great champion and reminding the world why his name belonged among the all-time greats. For Trinidad, the night was bittersweet. He had given everything, fought with pride, but time had caught him. His punches no longer carried the same snap, his timing just a fraction off. Yet the crowd cheered him as well, recognizing his courage, his refusal to quit, his warrior's spirit. This fight was more than a contest. It was a celebration of two legends who defined boxing's golden nights. Jones proved that greatness doesn't fade easily. Trinidad proved that heart never dies. Together they gave fans a night to remember, a reminder of why boxing is called the theater of the unexpected.